We're kicking off Series 2, Episode 1 with Global Director of People Analytics at AUTODOC, Mario Pereira. Mario has operated as head of TA for mega brands like e-mobility giant Bolt and luxury online fashion retailer FarFetch, and is often a keynote speaker at TA events across Europe. Today, he joins our host from the Rec Hub, CEO and founder Harry Bigwood, and Talent Strategy Director Bill Brewer. They will be delving into the realm of talent intelligence, sharing insights on what it entails and how to leverage it to optimize hiring and retention.
Welcome back to the Powered by People podcast, Season 2. We have a new format that Rosie has come up with. So we're going to kick off with the quick fire questions. There's a load of questions on these cards, Mario, if you just want to pick one.
All right.
There we go.
There you go.
So this is just so we get to know a bit about you. Before we get into the nitty gritty of talent intelligence and AI integration, we're going to get to know Mario. What's one skill or quality that's essential for success in your industry?
Humbleness. Meaning,
I like that.
Can you expand on that? Meaning, you constantly need to revisit your assumptions and beliefs, because otherwise you'll lose the ability to navigate all the changes and ambiguity that surrounds you.
I'm thinking growth mindset, lose the ego.
Yeah, and I'm not thinking going into the leadership part, because if you jump into that, it's even more important. So I will say humbleness. Yeah,
Constantly learning.
Yep.
Kaizen. Don't know what that means. It's Japanese something or other. It means continuous improvement. That's what.
Very true though. Anyone you see that is successful, you can definitely see that they're also humble. You can see that and successful.
Otherwise, you become very, very blind of regarding your surroundings, your own biases. So you need to constantly be checking on that. For sure.
Totally.
Love that. Your biggest pet peeve? And this doesn't have to be talent acquisition.
No.
People that aren't humble.
Well, concern.
Let's just go down the humbleness route on all of the answers.
I would say I'm going to say a more professional one. I would say decisions driven by personal agendas.
Okay.
I think that's something that I really struggle to tolerate, honestly. Well, I've been learning to do it, so yes, but still.
A software or a tool you couldn't live without?
Oh, that's a very harsh one. Jesus,
I think the reality
I'm quite agnostic.
You hate it.
Well, from the pure database perspective, I'm going to say LinkedIn for sure. Yeah.
What's one travel destination on your bucket list?
Canada.
Ooh, me too.
Canada.
I feel like Canada's got all round everything.
Yeah, it's a whole package. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, lovely. One question you wish more people would ask you about your... What's one question you wish more people would ask you about your work?
Are you happy?
Oh, okay, nice.
See?
This guy. Humble and are you happy? Yeah. Love it. That's awesome. You know, like they always say, you should, when you're asking somebody how they are, you should always ask them again.
Yeah.
How are you? Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
That's just everyone's natural reactions. Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, I don't ask, are you okay? Because if you ask, are you okay? You're assuming that person is okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's already...
How are you?
It's more agnostic question. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's our quick fire questions, and that was 8 minutes, not 3 to 5 minutes. We're now getting into talent intelligence, which is an incredibly interesting topic that I know nothing about. It's something that I feel like a lot of businesses don't do very well.
Yeah.
Or don't do at all.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah. And something that you're obviously you've done in both the last two roles.
I mean, I'm more humble than that. I've tried to do it actually.
for those that don't,
it's a very new and very green area that is being developed these days. You know.
Yeah.
And it's the reason why I'm seeing it scaling so much. It's basically because as markets and assumptions and what we think that is going to happen today, tomorrow, the next 12 months, it's getting so volatile year after year that you need to professionalize yourself on how you are actually making decisions, and part of this professionalization is really to be better on how do you characterize your surroundings through data. To start. Okay, to start. And don't take me wrong, usually we tend to confuse data with intelligence. Several things. Okay, first and foremost, we need to focus on the data, how to acquire it, how to keep it neat, how to.
Let's just take it back. Because you're absolutely right. There are a lot of assumptions and there are differences between data and intelligence. But for anyone listening that doesn't really understand, what is talent intelligence?
There's a short and a long answer to that.
It's in between.
Look,
Rosie said we've got 20 to 25 minutes.
So we have time.
Plenty of time.
And I'll try not to make of this a monologue. So the origin, basically, of talent intelligence, the majority of the situations of the cases or companies emerge within talent acquisition.
Yeah.
As an answer to on how talent acquisition can describe the better the market, this big entity which is called talent market, right? To be able to strategize better on top of that. Okay. This means how do you benchmark properly compensation by job family, by seniority, by this is a huge topic, right? Because yes, we can buy salary benchmarks for sure, but these salary benchmarks are not calibrated with our bar for talent. All companies talk about A+ talent, but A+ talent in two different companies means completely different things. And we should acknowledge that, right? So just as this example, salary benchmark is a huge thing. Location strategy is another huge thing. Basically, how can you, in the end, it's basically how can you really characterize how talent supply looks like per city, per country, per region, per job skill. It's like a very complex metrics.
It's incredibly important in the e-mobility space.
Of course. And talent intelligence emerged from this, as a way for us to try really to characterize in the most scientific and data-driven manner as possible to decrease our biases the most we can, to really make good strategies and good decisions on top of it when you are strategizing regarding talent acquisition. This is the first part of the answer. Now, the way it's evolving, if you think about it, and if you think about what employee life cycle means, I mean, I can give you back part of the question. So for you, what employee life cycle means? What is the employee life cycle, conceptually speaking? When it starts, when it ends? What's your opinion on that?
Well, it starts from the first interaction with your brand, I suppose. We look a lot at candidate experience, right? So
exactly.
I would say at that very moment that you send a CV or you interact with a brand that you're attempting to work with, or if you're being headhunted in the same sense, that's when I would say that's the start of your employee life cycle, because you follow that, you track that candidate experience through, and then that transitions from candidate experience to employee experience, and then obviously when you leave, that's the employee life cycle, as I would see, I suppose.
You can even start before of that.
Do you think?
I think so, because when someone reaches out to you, even if you're not actively looking, if someone reaches out to you, challenging you to join the company, you might be already influenced by the brand.
Massively.
So actually, it's a discussion. I mean,
it's really interesting.
On LinkedIn, you have people are categorized on LinkedIn how likely they are to respond, which means they've actually interacted with your brand before already. So you're often reaching out to people who know your brand already.
So the reason why I'm challenging you here with this topic, it's really because from a talent intelligence perspective, if you think about how companies these days or traditionally deal with people data, you might have talent intelligence, but for sure you'll have people analytics, right? And people analytics basically focused on the traditional employee life cycle, which is from the first onboarding day till the end day of employment. But if you think about it, that's not very reasonable. It would make way more sense if you combine both. And suddenly you have an area, call it whatever you want. I would say I'm a defender that you should call it talent intelligence, and actually you are overlooking the full employee life cycle. They're connecting all the dots. Right. So. And if you do this right, in theory, and of course this is way more complex than just talking about it, because it involves a very, very specific set of skills in terms of the team you need to build. But in theory, imagine you being able to do things like connecting your performance of the new joiners after 6 months, 1 year, with the interview assessment, for example, and to use these 2 points of contact to calibrate not only your quality of hiring, right, the quality of the process, your quality of onboarding, any type of biases that you might identify in the meanwhile. That's one thing. But on top of that, imagine that you are able to calibrate that with benchmark data that you might be able to build from the market, because we cannot forget that talent acquisition teams basically they spend the whole day speaking with the market. And I can guarantee you that 90% of the cases, no one is doing anything.
Categorizing it, I mean, recruiters are market analytics, right? It's day to day.
That's one of the challenges with talent intelligence is the data collection, the integrity of the data.
Exactly. And of course, how you keep it compliant, and how do you make sure the governance is right, and all of that. So.
I think
there are some really good tools out there now around talent intelligence. True. I have to say, LinkedIn have released a new talent insights platform. But
True. We need to be true. I agree totally. And these tools are fundamental for the success of these areas. Because you don't. Even if you are very, very active in the market, interviewing and everything, you need to assume that you are just. Tapping into a small percentage of the market, so we need to be careful with the assumptions we are doing. The gains from it is actually all the characterization you are doing from the market.
You
have a calibration with your internal talent, because every time you are interviewing someone, or you are looking to the market, you are looking at it with your company eyes, your cultural eyes, your competencies or skills framework you are using to manage internal talent eyes. So that's the importance of it. But when you start addressing more broader challenges, like, for example, location strategy, then you need this type of tools that will give you access to broader, more representative data sets. Then you can start to build something on top of it. Sometimes the reason why I was laughing while you were sharing this is that we need to be careful how do we use these tools. We cannot. I mean, and of course, I don't want to offend anyone from those tools. I'm not saying that.
So we're not being sponsored by
No.
We're looking for sponsors, but they're on the list.
Sometimes these tools represent themselves as insights generators, right? Which, they are, of course, but we need to use them as data sources. Otherwise, I mean, where's the competitiveness of it? So we need to use them as data sources. So actually, the pitch is different from what they usually use.
But it's a mindset as well, right? I mean, you can invest in all the tools you want, but if you're not thinking in a way of building a true talent insight led team, it doesn't matter what tools you get if all your recruiters aren't thinking about how they can get the best data, how they can ask the right questions to aggregate all the data.
It even starts before that. If you don't have your management team, your stakeholders on board, I mean, don't do anything. Because it's costly. So the only way you'll be able to achieve a return of investment there is if someone is going to use it. If your decision makers actually will be willing to listen to you, right? Otherwise, I mean, it's a waste of money, honestly.
And you say costly, but I mean, with good talent insights, you can reduce time to hire down significantly, right? So then the cost of metric to that, I mean, this big topic at the moment of do more with less, right? If you've got a really well set up data driven team and you're able to attract the best candidates in the best time, you can do a lot more with a lot less.
It has potentially a huge impact on effectiveness.
Yeah.
You know, and of course this then expands to. It's that's why it's a bit of a rabbit hole, this topic of talent intelligence, right? And people analytics, and then AI in the background more and more, because the possibilities that you can really explore and build upon are really immense, honestly.
So
what should be the limiting factor always is, and I don't tire myself to repeat this, is the quality of your data. Okay. If you don't have quality data, I mean, put AI on top of it, it'll be, I mean, AI will only expand and escalate bad data. So bad insights, bad intelligence. Exactly. So everything starts with data acquisition for sure. Acquisition, compliance, and governance.
Yeah. You mentioned there as well, you can really go down a rabbit hole with this topic. If a company has never operated in this way, what would be your recommendation of how to get started? Like, what would be the first areas to look at?
Yeah, first and foremost, the first step is you need to measure your talent acquisition outputs. Okay, so the main metrics: time to hire, time to fill. Quality of hire is a bit also of a rabbit hole. We need to be careful how do we measure it.
I've seen so many different variations.
And that, I mean, my answer to that: use the most you can and try to calibrate between themselves. You know, depending on the data you have available. That's a whole discussion in terms of quality of hire. The percentage of headcount you are fulfilling in facing the plans and all of that. That's the first step. Okay, and also if you can, keep an eye on your cost per hire and also your return of investment. You know, meaning this is a different topic, but I tend to see talent acquisition teams as cost avoiders.
Okay.
Meaning, if the plan is to hire 1,500 people in
sounds like you need to for that.
If you need to,
wouldn't be people with a quick rec upload.
If you need to hire 1,500 people in 2024,
team of 10 now.
No, but that's the point. I mean, what would be the cost to make those hires using purely outsourcing services, dependently of the format or nature, and what is the total cost using an internal team or mixed teams, which is the ideal scenario. That's
the blended TA,
and that's why I'm here also, right? And then suddenly you are able to calculate the return of investment. And the return of investment will be the money you've saved the company by having an internal team, you know, because you can calculate for each hire, and we know that the fees that are charged in the typical the more traditional way of outsourcing, the contingent one. The way the fees are calculated are based on seniority and percentage of salary. Okay, and just apply that to the hires we are doing internally, and suddenly you see what is the value of it, the market value of it. You know,
I've also seen I've had conversations with TA leaders around an sort of similar to what you're suggesting in terms of ROI, but based on cost per empty seat. So if I need to do X amount of hires in the sales team, for example, how much is it costing the business every day, week, month, whatever, when that seat isn't filled? You know? And so you can then calculate that back to suggest, well, the ROI is we get them filled quicker. So you're actually showing that we've enabled, you're like, of course, becoming a revenue generator, you know, you can tie that back to revenue.
Very linked in go-to-market roles, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is the first step. Second step would be that, and the third step, and last but not least, will be a combination of all of this in order to connect TA value with GMV impact. So that's the journey, but it's way more complex than that we're just talking about here, you know.
Yes.
So if you start measuring all of these metrics, I'm not going to talk about more than this, just to keep it simple. Suddenly, from the moment you start measuring things, you become accountable for those. Right. So next step is how do we make it more efficient and effective, right? And that's usually when the beginning of the pitch to have an internal talent intelligence team starts. You know, how can we make sure? And usually they start also by by becoming owners of this reporting and data analysis consistency. That's usually how it emerges, independently if it is emerging purely from a talent acquisition team or from a people analytics team that someone else is working there, and suddenly that's step one. And of course, it's a natural move as we are so embedded in this data and measuring all these KPIs. Suddenly, the next thing is how can we improve it, right? And the most questions you'll be making, suddenly you are making the first steps to start doing talent intelligence work without even having a talent intelligence team. And with small marginal gains, and we should always start small. Small marginal gains, small pitches to your stakeholders in the business, and suddenly it starts to have traction. Okay, and the more you build, the more buy-in you'll have from your management team or board, more ability to invest, more tools, and suddenly things starts to scale up. But you should always start from the basics. Start simple.
Simple metrics.
Simple.
And pick the metrics, like you said.
Pick a small amount of metrics, try to figure that out properly, and to be consistent on the quality of those. Exactly. And then you start scaling up.
As a live example, then one of the big ones is screen candidates that make it into first stage interview, for example. So if you're going after a certain market, are we speaking to the right candidates? Are we offering the right opportunities? Are our salaries that we're offering in our roles correct? And let's say, for example, 75% of the candidates are making it through from screen to first stage interview, why are 25% of them dropping out? And of those first stages, how many of them making it through to final? So where's the disconnect there? And starting with that as a metric to improve.
That's a very good point. Thank you for raising that, because if you think about, I tend to organize these metrics I tend to differentiate them between effectiveness and efficiency. These first ones that we were discussing, I see them as effectiveness. These ones, which are more process oriented or process related, are more efficiency, right? You're totally right. And actually, the ends making sense that talent intelligence should cover the employee life cycle independently of it's a way of working, and it's not a roadshow that you are giving to people, because that's a good example. If you are working on an evergreen type of a role, right, in which by any reason you are constantly hiring, and you after 6 months or 1 month or whatever it's the scale of time, you see that only 5% of the candidates that reach the final stage of the interview receive an offer. The process is broken.
Some things.
Stop. Fix it.
When you're in the hole, stop digging.
If you're in the hole, stop digging. Because there are several root causes for that potentially. You might be, because of those, you might be burning the market, burning candidates in a fair way. So that's also a good
process.
Exactly. So that's also a good pitch and a good business case for having a team like this. We cannot ask to a typical talent acquisition specialist or a team of a talent acquisition team, let's say, to do everything. That's not either you dimension a team for that, but it would not make sense because the set of skills are a bit different. I
do think, though, there's this sort of theme in a lot of conversations at the moment that there is an evolution of the role of TA, and it's becoming a broader remit or a broader role that encompasses more than just talent acquisition. And people are becoming more talent business partners, and what does that mean? That means talent attraction, much like marketing supports sales in businesses. So when marketing salespeople will listen to their clients or their prospective clients, and then they can feed back to the marketing team on like how and vice versa, right? You've got this sort of, whereas I think that there seems to be a bit missing in the talent world, because we're speaking to candidates every day and understanding there's a level of talent intelligence that we just gather every single day. What do candidates feel about this brand? What do candidates, what are candidates enjoying in the marketplace? What are candidate, what benefits are really, because that also is something that should be changing, right? You can't just fix your benefits, or because some people want this or want that in different times. So I think there's this like evolution of the role, and it become, talent intelligence should really start to become something that's sort of hand in hand with our role,
True. I mean, we don't need to invent the wheel. I mean, if you think about talent acquisition, conceptually speaking, it's really similar and close to a sales and marketing area. Right? And if you go to any FMCG company, you have sales marketing, you have market intelligence, have analytics. So it's not, we're not inventing anything.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. I totally agree with what you said. However, I'm not an advocate of having one profile that is doing everything. It's true that today talent acquisition, basically, I think it's an umbrella, honestly. Sure. And below talent acquisition, you might have or should have, if you can, employer branding. You have pure recruitment, executive hiring, it's a different thing also. You can have talent intelligence, independently of talent intelligence, it then reports talent acquisition, it's outside, but you need to have some data analysis capability there. So it's way more, I think it's more diversified in terms of the skill set and competencies that you need within a talent acquisition team. I think it might be a mistake to just go and hire generalistic TA profiles, because then they do not have the skill set to solve and to face all the topics that you need to face.
For sure.
Managing.
And it's quite nice to see, branding obviously is a much bigger topic now than it was 5 years ago, right? And it's quite nice to see a lot more businesses fitting that, firstly into a budget, because it was never really there, but also fitting that into the talent acquisition team now. Where it used to sort of sit somewhere else in an org. But I think also, talent as a whole, you've got, and maybe this is where, talent intelligence can potentially evolve into, but we've talked a lot about, the different elements of attrition. It is so important to the overall talent acquisition strategy, right?
True.
So, because if I'm losing if the business is losing loads of people, well then we need to be hiring loads more people, and so I think there's further development or evolution of the role to include more employee engagement topics, to include more retention and engagement opportunities for the business, because that if we could sort of, that ultimately becomes part of your TA strategy. Does that make sense?
Totally. Even more than that, and this is where the boundaries start to get a little bit confusing. Because even talent management, because there's another side of it, which is let's talk about internal mobility.
Let's talk learning and development.
Let's talk about learning and development. Because these two are fundamental to deal with talent scarcity. It's not. So it's suddenly, it's not by chance that we are starting to see some talent acquisition leaders also managing talent management. Sometimes also managing people analytics. Because we were having this discussion outside. You are always an hostage of talent supply. Of what the market can actually. Yes, you can have a say, and when I say can have a say, through reskilling, upskilling, future talent, for example, can influence. But just to a certain extent, if I need to hire 1,000 people tomorrow, on the next year, I need to do a comprehensive exercise on what that means, meaning seniority, skill set, or job families, or competences, or whatever you use to guide there. But also what the market can offer in the specific locations, starting with the specific locations you are able to hire in that moment, because you have an entity open or office or whatever. But then eventually, you need to go above and beyond that. And then how do you make that decision? It based on what? Your personal belief, or because you
data?
I mean, you need to find a way to make this decision, because usually these decisions are impactful.
And tough.
Tough, for sure.
No, so basically, Mario, what we do is we ask all of our guests to record a question for our future guests. So you have no idea who the next guest will be.
Okay.
So it's a random question. Today, as you are the first guest of season 2, you have our amazing creative director and director of brand experience, Ben Leeson. I can't really hold this, do that.
I can help.
Someone do something.
Yeah, we have a budget on production value here. So here's a question from Ben, our brand director.
Hi Mario, it's Ben from the Rec Hub here. As the podcast is all about people, I want to know what your biggest accomplishments in and outside of work are.
The biggest accomplishments inside and outside.
Oh, just be like, just your son.
I was going for that one actually. I'm a family man, so that's the first and foremost. Honestly, and I try to be the best that I can. I'm still learning, of course. I think it's a continuous journey of learning always. That's on the personal side, and of course, also on the personal side, I like to give back whenever I've seen opportunity to do it. I'm considering myself very, very lucky, and privileged and all of that. So I try to give back as much as I can, and this might mean to a friend of mine or to someone I know. So it's a mindset, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
From a professional perspective, that's very complex. Not complex, it's easy, but that's a long talk. But since we are in this line of work, let's say, it's really interesting when you bring someone into an organization, and usually that means that person trusted you.
Yep.
Yeah. Most than anyone who can do it, that person trusted you, right? The storytelling that you are again literally selling to him or her. And it's really, really interesting, and it's really good. It's a good feeling when actually that person, after 1 year or 2 years or 6 months, is really getting back to you, really saying thank you.
Thank you for getting me here.
And you see that person grow suddenly, because you're really impacting people's lives. It's quite serious.
We forget that sometimes, I think.
I think you forget that. I think when we're discussing big, high-level talent acquisition strategies, 1,000 people, 2,000
They just become numbers on a piece of paper as opposed to that.
Someone has told me, like, when you're hiring someone, like you said there, you could hire 1,000 people in a year, but that means that 1,000 phone calls happened after they got the offer to a partner of theirs and said, I just got this job. And like that's something that means
you're hiring the family, actually. You hire the family. So, and I think sometimes we forget about the ethics of it.
Yeah.
You know, using the same example of, and potentially this is not a very popular positioning, but using the same example of if you are in the hole, stop digging the hole.
Yeah.
If you are hiring for a team that you know it has some type of an issue, and the numbers are telling you that high attrition levels, or there are some strange things happening there, and you are trying to tackle that together with your HR people partner or journalistic HR, trying to solve it. I mean, potentially stop hiring.
Yeah.
Either the hire it's part of the solution. That's amazing. Okay, but you need to be honest. It needs to be part of the storytelling you are selling to the candidate. Otherwise, stop hiring, because it's people's lives. I mean, we have also a responsibility on that, and that's very harmful for the brands when you don't respect it. So I would say that for sure.
Yes. Very humble answer. Like, we're going to kick into AI integration. Again, a very popular topic at the moment. Everyone's talking about it. And we're obviously going to look at it from the perspective of people, from the perspective of talent and talent acquisition. I've seen lots of different platforms personally. I'm still not convinced that AI is going to replace a recruiter anytime soon. To your point, actually, Mario, we are dealing with people, and when you're dealing with people and their lives and their next opportunities, you can't replace that with a piece of AI. I don't think, personally. I hope not, anyway. Otherwise, I've got to find a recruiter.
podcast will be gone.
Powered by AI.
Look, considering the set of technology today, and potentially in the next 5 years, it's impossible to guess. But 2 years, let's say, I strongly doubt it. And even after that, there's a theory. Even if you have the technology purely to do that, there's a theory that says that potentially that's when human interaction will be more valuable. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it will really differentiate you. That human touch and connection and empathy. Of course, the question is, can also technology reach a point and moment that can mimetize that purely as well as we do? I think that would be the threshold, honestly. But I think we are quite far away from it. But it will make a recruiter or talent acquisition team way more efficient.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
And particularly would decrease the size of the teams. That's also, we need to verbalize it, because as efficiency grows,
I think absolutely increase efficiency and productivity. Maybe not necessarily reduce team size. Potentially, yes. It depends on
several factors for sure.
But what it will do is enable recruiters more time to improve candidate experience, improve the overall, and I think that's really where, particularly from talent acquisition's perspective, AI is going to support recruiters and talent acquisition professionals in being better at their job and driving those qualitative metrics. If that's how I see it in the short term, at least.
It's a really good point. I think for me, like we were talking about there, recruiters dealing with people, and the more time we can get the recruiters doing what they should be doing, which is speaking to people and having that human interaction, the tool should be taking away from all the time they're not doing that. So, when I was doing screening calls, you'd have that time before reading the CV, the time after transcribing the call that you've just had, uploading, doing the data intelligent piece. You're making sure you're mapping everything. Well, that's their salary. That's their reason they left their last job. So you're using all that data. There's a lot of time spent not speaking to the next person. So if you've got tools that can really help you get more time on a call or a video.
Totally agree. I think that's the evolution we'll see in the next year, in 2 years. Okay? Which is talent acquisition teams will be more focused on their money makers. Right? And what are the money makers? The money makers is the relationship they have with their stakeholders, the ability to read the organization, to know and to anticipate what the organization needs. Even sometimes before the stakeholders actually reach that moment, because they have their eyes on the market, right? And sometimes we can see our future in a specific company through other companies, so they are more aware of it. That's the first part. That's the first money maker. The second money maker, it's the assessment part, which we tend not to talk a lot about it. I don't know exactly why. I only see this assessment topic sometimes being discussed on more niche, like executive hiring forums and things like that. When I say assessment, I mean, how do you predict future human behaviors and performance in a specific context, specific culture? That's what we do, right? That's also the money maker, because that actually it will have a huge impact, or has a huge impact on your quality per hire. Doesn't matter if you have a very good time to hire, time to fill. Doesn't matter if your quality per hire is not good. Again, stepping in the hole. That's the second money maker. And of course, the third one, which connects more with market mapping and intelligence, I think this part potentially AI will have a big impact sooner.
It will have a massive impact sooner, and like I think you're talking about it. AI will have the ability to spot patterns and trends that humans miss, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Anything that where we're going to be looking at talent intelligence, connecting that with AI, that's where I feel, the investment will be from a talent acquisition perspective.
I agree.
And recruiters, like you say, I think we should be spending more time. We're an enablement function.
Exactly.
We should spend more time with our stakeholders, our hiring managers, understanding what their workforce plans are, helping them understand and mapping their next hires, and let the AI do the monotonous and task-driven stuff.
Exactly.
I think like anything, right? I mean, what's my train of thought now?
Keep it in.
Keep that in as a blooper. No, the tools that
a bird.
It's not tools aren't to replace us. I'll start again.
I'm supposed to be the one with ADHD.
I'll start again. Yeah, tools aren't to replace us; they're to make us better at doing our jobs, and that's been the same way with humans forever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Every single tool that human has used has been, become more powered or has, better ways to do it. Athletes have got better shoes they're wearing now. It enables us to be faster, smarter, better, and that's all AI, I believe, is going to help us do rather than replace us.
Yeah. I think this is a good example. We can see potentially part of the future of this. There are several areas that potentially are a little bit ahead of TI in this sense. Let's say, for example, customer service teams.
Yeah.
Right? You are seeing it already. If you think about per team, right? If you think about a team of 10, potentially right now you have 2 or 3 chatbots already there.
Yeah.
Or 2 or 3 robots.
Yeah.
Pairing up with the human team. Let's say. I think that would be the format actually. Now. This might have, and I'm going to say it again, this might have an impact on the size of the teams,
For sure, but I don't think there's ever been an evolution in technology that has resulted in less jobs collectively.
No.
So it might mean a restructuring of opportunities. So you might have less people in the customer success team, but you'll have more people in the tech or engineering or whatever, because someone's got to be designing, building those chatbots, maintaining, improving, innovating. So there's never been an evolution of technology which has resulted in less overall jobs.
Well, that is a very philosophical discussion right now.
Yeah.
But look, if you think about we need also to look at it from a profit angle, right? So
what's that mean?
You are okay. So
well, it's off you, Mario.
You are an entrepreneur, right? You are a CEO and a founder, all of that, right? So if you look at it from a profit point of view, if you can
reduce.
Look, if you can keep up the right standards that you are looking for, the right service, the right quality of service, the right experience you are wanting to provide to our customers, depending on what that means. If you're able to keep that, why not using AI if it is available at the level that will enable you to operate at
so you can ultimately reduce your overall costs. Use other tools.
That's my because for example, you're talking about software engineers and the more technology type of roles. They're all going to be impacted as well.
For sure.
So, which is the ironical part, because if you think about...
They're creating their own demands.
If you think about, like, I don't know, 20 years ago, the AI was always being shown to us as the most... what's the right word? The undifferentiated roles.
Yep.
Being the first ones, and it's completely the opposite, actually.
Yeah.
Why? Because hardware is quite expensive to be applied in that type of work, because the value is not there. Profit.
Yeah,
it's not profitable. It's more profitable to keep the humans there as a carpenter than to develop a very neat robot to do carpentry.
Yeah.
Profit. It's profit to always guide it. It's so that's true. That's why I'm not pessimistic about it. It's something that I think we need to.
Capitalism sucks.
Again, we need to be humble about it, continuously rethinking it, because it's not clear, but honestly.
Profit. I mean, for me, profit doesn't mean just bringing costs down as well, right? It means offering a better service, so you can charge more.
Exactly.
So if you're using AI tools to be able to offer a much better service, because you're, in our case, recruiters come equipped with X and Y, Z tools to make them more efficient, to do more in a week than someone without those tools. It's not about reducing your own costs. It's actually being able to say, this is why we charge as much, or this is why our product costs X, Y, and Z. So,
you can use humans as a service differentiator in a positive way, and as a consequence, you can charge more.
Yeah,
I hope you're right.
I hope so. Yeah.
The only thing I was reading the other day, have you seen that China have developed the first, I think it's called Tong Tong, and it's a 3-year-old baby, 3-year-old robot that just walks around, cleans up. It's iRobot.
Like it is.
So,
It's happening. Hang on.
It's actually a 3-year-old child. It looks like a child.
It is a and it talks and it's actually learning every day, interacting.
Does it have tantrums and?
No, it's removed that. Hence where it's improved. It's improving.
Yeah.
it's time I bet you Virgil 10.0 or something like that.
So yes, that's quite scary.
It's a bit tense.
That is iRobot. Yeah, that's iRobot.
Because you just
Get out. Get out. Show us. Where is it? iRobot World as well.
If that thing sleeps 8 hours a night, sign me up. I could replace my own.
Where's sleep? Where's the sleep you speak of?
That's a bit of a wrap up. We've covered talent intelligence. Thank you very much for your insights.
Really
I did that, insights. Thanks for your insights, Mario.
For the invitation.
Bill, how was that bird that you spurred? Was that
good? Away with the fairies. Blame it on a Friday. Let's do it on a Monday.
Friday afternoons are now banned. That's all Mario's.
I heard them taking drinks orders outside, so I was just.
Boom with a beer.
I heard someone crack a bottle of wine.
But AI, talent intelligence, some really cool topics. Thanks for your insights there.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you on the Powered by People podcast. It's hard, difficult to say that. Thanks for kicking off season 2, Mario.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Clap, clap, clap. We've actually got your tempo. So,
There you go.
thanks for coming on.
That down.